Hey everyone, it's April 19th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with serial killer Vincent Darrell Groves, who may have murdered as many as 24 young women and girls between 1978 and 1988, and that is him right up there. Groves was born in 1954, the oldest of three boys, growing up in a middle-class suburb of Denver. A gifted athlete, he led his high school basketball team to the state championship game and played briefly at Coe College in Iowa. But he dropped out in 1974, having been frequently absent from class and missing practices, and he soon stopped playing ball altogether. Groves moved in with his grandmother in Denver and found work as an electrician, spending his free time in seedy parts of town befriending pimps and prostitutes alike. He soon started pimping girls himself, first putting a teenager on the street in 1977. She turned up dead the next year, and Groves was the primary suspect, but the general lack of interest by the police in crimes against sex workers led to a half-hearted investigation with no charges filed. A woman moved in with him in 1979 and disappeared shortly afterward. Her body has never been found. He picked up a drug habit in addition to drinking heavily and quit his job as an electrician, being employed sporadically as a janitor after his resignation. Groves was married in 1981, but his drug and alcohol abuse led to violent outbursts, causing a strain in the relationship. A 17-year-old girl died while on a camping trip with him later that year, with Groves claiming that she died of an overdose. His wife convinced him to go to the police and tell them what happened, but an autopsy showed that the girl had been raped and strangled and had no trace of drugs in her system whatsoever. Convicted of second-degree murder, Groves was sent to prison, where he went through counseling aimed at sex offenders and was divorced by his wife. After less than 7 years, he was released on parole, moving in with his parents and taking work at a church. But rather than gain a fresh start, he started hanging out with pimps and prostitutes once again, attempting to strangle a call worker after doing drugs with her in a motel in 1987. Guests in neighboring rooms overheard the commotion and called the police, with Groves fleeing the scene. At this time, the police finally started taking the deaths of prostitutes in the area somewhat seriously, and Groves came up as a suspect in 20 open murders. Arrested in 1988 based on circumstantial evidence, they didn't have enough to get him for murder, so he was only charged in the assault at the motel. He claimed self-defense and was acquitted due in large part to the victim being a known cocaine addict. But investigators were able to obtain his DNA during this process, which matched samples found on 2 murdered women, and in 1990 he was tried with their strangulation. Convicted and sentenced to life behind bars, he died of liver failure in 1996. In 2012, Groves' DNA was finally matched to 4 more dead prostitutes, 3 of whom were killed in the late 70s and 1 who was murdered in 1988. With his MO matching dozens of victims found in the Denver area, he has been tied to the murders of 24 young women and girls who were found in the years just before his incarceration in 1981 and shortly after his parole, making Groves the worst thing to happen to Denver until the Russell Wilson trade. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment saying I wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Vincent Darrell Groves, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.